parrot said one word at 3 a.m. that nobody had taught him. Celestine Akpobome-Farrow was a speech-language pathologist who had spent 11 years teaching people to speak. She worked with children who could not sequence syllables, adults who had lost words to stroke, infants who could not coordinate the suck-swallow-breathe reflex. She knew exactly what a disordered swallow sounded like. She had simply not been listening. Their parrot was a 6-year-old blue and gold macaw named Ptolemy. Place Ivan. Hello when someone entered the room. Out when he wanted the cage door open. Pretty bird sarcastically when he had been ignored too long. He had never, in 6 years, said anything at 3 a.m. Their daughter Ife was 10 weeks old. Pages official. Fussy after feeds, arching her back, difficult to settle. The pediatrician had said reflux. They had used a wedge under the bassinet mattress and held her upright for 30 minutes after every feed. By week 10, things seemed better. They weren't. On a Thursday night, Celestine had done the 10 p.m. place of happy this week. We have been fussier than usual, but had settled eventually. Time of 11:30. At 3:04 a.m., Ptolemy said, "Help." Nobody had taught him the word help. It was not in the 40 words. She lay in the dark for a moment, certain she had misheard. "Please." At 3:06, he said it again. "Clearer." She got up. Ife was in the bassinet. She was not crying. She was making a small sound. Intermittent. Wet. Low. A sound Celestine would have described in a clinical setting as gurgly. She turned on the lamp. Ife's face was slightly mottled. Not blue. Mottled. The kind of color change that happens when oxygenation is inconsistent. Whilst limp in a way that was not sleep, Please rolled her face down along her forearm and gave 4 firm back blows the way she had been taught in infant CPR, the way she had practiced but never used. Something small and wet came out. Ife coughed. She cried. She was breathing. At the ED, Celestine said all of it quickly, without emotion, the way clinical people report clinical events about their own children. And then she sat in a chair and shook. If you stay for stories about what animals notice before we do, you're in the right place. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. The attending, a man named Dr. Sylvanus Abbasi, used a scope to look at Ife's airway. Bout of oppressing a being in the upper airway and a thickened mucosal pattern consistent with chronic silent aspiration. Not a one-time event, but a recurring pattern that had been happening at night, slowly, over weeks. Reflux has been allowing stomach contents to reach her larynx during sleep. She is aspirating silently. She doesn't cough or cry because the aspiration reflex in some infants under 3 months is immature. Breathes it in. I listened to her feeds for 10 weeks and didn't hear it. Silent aspiration doesn't make a sound during the feed. It happens when they're horizontal, when the acid reaches the vocal cords during sleep and triggers a quiet laryngeal response. There is no warning sign a parent can typically hear or see. What woke you? My parent said a word he didn't know. Dr. Obasi looked at her for a long moment. Parrots sleep in light cycle sleep, similar to corvids. They process acoustic information during rest that humans do not. Your parrot heard a change in your daughter's respiratory pattern that you could not have heard from another room. He told you in the most precise word his vocabulary had for it. Was help. Has your animal ever done something you couldn't explain until it was the only thing that did? Tell us in the comments. Basic aspiration with a thickened feed protocol and a stronger acid suppressant and an elevated sleeping position. At her 4-month appointment, she was clear. At her 6-month appointment, the aspiration had not recurred. Ptolemy's cage was moved from the living room to a position closer to the nursery door. He did not say help again. Please stay. He did not need to. He said pretty bird to himself at 7 a.m., time into the fingertips. And hello to the baby when she was brought into the room. Every guardian deserves to be recognized, even the ones who learned a word nobody taught them when they needed it. If stories like this matter to you, subscribe so you never miss the next one. Celestine sat with Ptolemy on her arm one afternoon, the baby asleep in the rocker nearby, and she tried to teach him the word help deliberately and properly, with a reward system and the same behavioral shaping she used in her clinical practice. He said it back to her perfectly. He had clearly already known how. Tomorrow there's another one, about a golden retriever who refused to let a mother carry her newborn across a specific patch of floor for 11 days straight.